Hi class! From this video, we will talk about Chapter 16, Capital Structure and Leverage. We will discuss what is the optimal capital structure and how to find the optimal structure. By definition, optimal capital structure is the capital structure at which stock price is maximized and WACC is minimized. Okay, so we've already talked about capital structure before. It is mix of debt, preferred stock, and common equity. Okay, in chapter 10, when we were trying to calculate WACC, we learned about, we were using the weight for the three component costs, cost of debt, cost of preferred stock, and cost of common equity, multiplying by the three costs to get WACC, right? So capital structure, it is just the weight for each component. Okay, how much percentage capital we raised by debt, how much percentage capital we raised by preferred stock, and how much percentage of capital we raised by common equity. The weights for the three capital components is called capital structure. Okay, and we think the best capital structure is when our stock price is maximized and our WACC is minimized. And oftentimes, these two conditions are consistent with each other. They happen at the same time. Okay, so when we're deciding capital structure, a very crucial component here is debt. Okay, it's actually debt has its benefit. Higher proportion of debt has its benefit, but also has its cost. Okay, on one side, debt financing generally offers the lowest cost of debt due to its tax deductibility. Okay, but on the other side, as the firm borrows more money, the firm increases its financial risk, causing the firm's bond rating to decrease and its cost of debt to increase. The risk of the firm's equity also increases, resulting in a higher cost of equity RS. So on the good side, because we have the tax adjustment, if we have more debt, we could potentially have lower cost of capital. However, on the bad side, we cannot raise too much money by debt. Okay, because if you have too much debt, you will have higher risk of going bankruptcy if you cannot pay back the debts on time. Your bond rating could be lower, your cost of debt could be higher, and your cost of equity could also be higher. Okay, so at the optimal capital structure, the tax-related benefits of debts are exactly offset by the debt's risk-related costs. Okay, by raising more debts, you could enjoy more tax benefit, but you could also undertake more risk. So we have to find the optimal capital structure where we have the best trade-off, we have the best balance to enjoy the tax benefit and the risk cost of debt. Example, cost of debt at different debt ratios. For this firm, if we have these first column showing the amount we borrow by debts, it increases from 0 to 1,000. Okay, and the second column shows us the debt over capital ratio for the firm. Okay, it increases from 0 to 0.5. Okay, debt capital ratio is debt over capital. And we know for the firm, the total capital is 2,000. And it's the sum of debt and equity. Equity is capital minus debt. Okay, so when we have debt of 1,000, debt over capital ratio is 1,000 over 2,000, which is 0.5. When debt is 5,000, then debt over capital ratio becomes 500 divided by 2,000. So our debt over capital ratio is 0.25. Of course, here equity would become 1,500. So the debt over equity ratio would become 500 over 1,500, which is 0.333. Okay, and when debt is 1,000, equity is 1,000, debt over equity ratio would be 1. And when we raise more and more debt, the bond rating would go down from AAA to BBB, AA to BB. The cost of debt will increase. Okay, when the risk of the firm goes up, RD cost of debt will increase from 8% to 14%. If the level of debt increases, the firm's risk, the cost of debt, and the cost of equity will all increase. Okay, this page is a duplicate page, so let's skip it. Okay, finding optimal capital structure. The firm's optimal capital structure can be determined using two ways: minimizes WACC or maximizes stock price. Both methods yield the same results. Okay, let's look at our example here. Again, our amount borrowed by debt increases from 0 to 1,000. Debt over capital ratio, which is WD, the weight for debts, increases from 0% to 50%. The equity over capital ratio, weight for WC, the weight for common equity, decreases from 100% to 50%. Okay, when WD increases, WC decreases. Cost of equity increases from 12% to 15.6%. Okay, it increases because debt amount increases, firm risk increases. Our after-tax cost of debt, RD multiplied by 1 minus T, also increases because debt amount increases, firm risk increases. Our WACC, which is WD multiplied by RD multiplied by 1 minus T, plus RS, cost of equity multiplied by WC, is calculated in this last column here. And we find that we have the lowest WACC when our debt amount is 500, debt ratio is 25%, and equity ratio is 75%. This is the optimal capital structure. If we raise 25% capital by debts, 75% equity, 75% capital by equity, this is our optimal capital structure that brings us the lowest WACC. Okay, you can see as debt increases, WACC decreases first and then increases. So the lowest point is in the middle. Okay, on the other hand, if we look at stock price, when debt amount increases, the dividend per share or equity per share is increasing. RS is also increasing, but the stock price is highest in the middle point. Stock price increase first and then decrease. It's the highest, again, when we borrow 500 as our debt. Okay, so price is maximized and WC is minimized when we have debt over equity ratio of 25%. So the optimal debt over capital ratio is 25%. Note here, earnings per share is maximized at 50%, but primary interest is stock price, not earnings per share. Okay, EPS is highest when we have the highest debt, but note here, our criteria here is the highest stock price, not the highest EPS. Okay, so the two criteria are satisfied at the same time when we have the 500 debt raised and 25% as debt ratio, 75% as equity ratio. Our WACC is minimized, stock price is maximized. They happen at the same time, and this is when we have optimal capital structure.